Susana was unhappy to epic proportions, like the kind of person you don't want to be around. And I could actually understand to some degree why she was so unhappy. But it had reached the point where, we can use anger to fuel us and to move us forward. But it had reached the point where she was not only taking herself down, but she was taking other people down in the process. What had happened was she was the top producing salesperson for a tech startup. And the company had decided, for bigger reasons than just Susana, that they needed to reorganize the sales force, which Susana took as a personal insult and believed that it was going to kill her ability to make money. So it got so bad that the owners asked me to talk to her. I didn't know her, but I agreed to have a conversation with her. And within an hour, she was actually in a very different place. Not because I asked her to be, but because I just helped frame for her what was going on and to help her see the consequences of her choices and the actions that she was taking. So I'd like to share with you what I shared with Susana that day so that you can start to apply it immediately. It'll be really useful. Hi, it's David with another entry into the Leadership Library for people like you, catalysts who can see a much better future or a better way to do things and are impatient to get there because you're going to be epically unhappy at some point in the process, and people that you work with that you need to lead there are going to feel the same way. So let's make sure that you understand what's happening so that you're prepared to do something with it when it comes up. To do that, let's go to the whiteboard. That day I sat down with Susana 20 odd years ago, the first thing I did was I asked her, tell me, what's going on? Why are you so upset? And then I listened. And I listened to make sure that I really understood what was happening. And equally importantly, or maybe more importantly, to make sure that she understood that I understood. And so I really made sure I verified that I got it. And once that happened, I knew that we could have more success because I was helping her turn down the volume of her sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, and freeze. So this video is not just about here's some information you need to share with somebody or look at yourself. You need to be in a place where you can hear it, or you need to help them get to a place where they can hear it. Assuming you get them there, I will suggest that you could share with them what I'm about to share with you. And I always want to credit any resource or source where I draw things from, if it's not my own. And in this instance, I learned this from two of my early teachers in this profession, a man named Julio Olaya and another named Rafael Echeverria, geniuses and still my personal heroes in life. I believe that they learned it from their teacher, Fernando Flores. And so I'd like to say thank you to all of them. I take no credit for this, but I hope that you'll find value in it because that day with Susana and many other days, it's proved incredibly useful quite quickly. But first, before I break this down for you, I'm going to ask you to think of some situation that you're in right now that has you unhappy in a big way. It could be in your personal life, it could be in your work, it could be about a situation, it could be about something that happened or something someone said, but find a place where you're unhappy. And as I break this down for you, be thinking of how this might apply to your situation. It'll make everything that I share much more useful to you. So what I'll share with you today is something called the 4 moods that helps to understand how our experiences of the world translate into moods or emotions and then that lead us to act or not act in certain ways that will have consequences. So in this instance, this 2x2 grid, somebody once told me you can't be legitimate as a consultant until you have a 2x2 grid. So I feel really legitimate to be able to share this with you. But I'm going to build it on the outside first and then in the center. So across the top, we have things that we experience in life. One way that we can experience it is there are facts. Facts are the things that don't change. This is your history. This could be your biology. I'm 5'9", probably isn't going to change. Your age, where you came from, your parents, things like that. There are all sorts of things that have happened or that aren't going to change. Like it or don't like it, they are what they are. Those are the facts. Some people would call that reality. Then, on the other side of it, there are the things that could change. Let's call those possibilities. And possibilities are all the things that are either possible to move from here to here, or about the future, things that haven't yet happened that could happen many different ways. So these are the things that can't change. these are the things that could change. On the left-hand side, we have your orientation to these. One could be that you'll reject it. That probably doesn't take a lot of explanation. And then the other is that you'll accept that. And so this is the beginning of the grid that will populate from within. Things that can't change, things that can change. And you'll either reject it or you'll accept it. From here, let's start to populate the grid. If I'm someone who is facing facts, things that happened that won't change, and my orientation to those facts is that I reject them, that's going to generate a mood. And the mood that this will generate is resentment. And resentment is a very, very powerful mood. In some ways, it's different than anger. Anger, if I'm angry with you, I'm going to probably tell you to your face that I'm angry with you or behave in a way that it's going to be clear. Resentment is more of a secret promise of revenge. So I may not to your face let you know, or it may not be as obvious to you, but there is a secret promise of revenge in that. Then if I reject, let's go to the next one, if I reject what's possible, what could change, let's call that resignation. But to be really clear, most people, unless they're super aware and being honest, they don't call resignation, they don't say, I'm resigned. What they say is, I'm just being realistic. You've heard that before. You may have uttered those words yourself. I know I have. So the people reject the facts, resentment. The people reject possibilities, resignation. So let's keep building this out. Now we'll go to this category of when we accept things. What do we call that? Well, when we accept the facts, the things that can't change, even though we may not like them, we're in a place where we can accept them. The mood there is acceptance, or it could also be called peace. So it doesn't mean necessarily that I liked it, but I've reached a point where I am at acceptance with it or I'm at peace with it. When I accept the possibilities, the things that haven't yet happened that could happen, and I'm accepting of them, we call that mood enthusiasm. This is where you're ready to embrace what's coming at you, what you might not even know yet, but you're open to it, you're accepting it. To me, this is where this grid starts to get really useful and interesting. So what I'd like to talk about now is if I'm in one of these four moods, each mood I like to call emotions pre-motions. They are what precede and almost dictate the actions that you will take, that you have available to you, or the actions that you won't take, that you don't have available to you. So let's talk about what each of these moods generates in terms of action or motion, pre-motion. So when I'm rejecting the facts and I'm in a mood of resentment, I already mentioned this earlier in the video, the mood, this is a secret promise of revenge. So the actions that I'm going to take are going to be to either get back or to get even, to somehow even the score. And that probably you've seen that in yourself before. When I'm in this place of rejecting the possibilities and feeling resignation, the action I'm going to take is actually more of an action I'm not going to take. Usually, when I'm in this place of resignation, the action I'll take is almost always some version of to do nothing. Because I'm just being realistic. Wait, I would waste my time if I were to do that. So I'm going to do nothing when I'm in the mood of resignation. So let's finish out the bottom two. To be accepting of the facts, I'm in a mood of acceptance and peace. And the action that I would take here is what I would call to be open, which may not seem like an action, but it's different, not better than, different than being shut down. And it might be to enter. And that's in contrast with being closed off to things. So metaphorically, the physical equivalent of to be accepting or to be open or ready to enter or willing to enter is something from the martial arts called center. And if you've studied the martial arts, you understand that there's a point on your body known as center. It's where you move from. It's where the power is. But also the notion of being centered means that you are prepared to move equally easily in any direction, which is important because you never know where the next strike or attack is going to come from. And let's say I'm off center in this direction and I want to go that way. First, I have to come through center or to center to go that way. And that extra prep step, because I wasn't fully centered, may be the difference between escaping the punch and being flat on the floor. So to be centered means that I can move equally easily in any direction. So to be in the mood of acceptance and peace means that I am prepared to move in a direction. I'm now open and ready to enter where I used to be shut off or maybe resistant. And then to be accepting of the possibilities generates the mood of enthusiasm. And when I'm in the mood of enthusiasm, the action I'm going to take is going to be to engage. And that allows me to enter into relationships, into new actions, into agreements, all sorts of things that come from the mood of enthusiasm. Now that you see the connection between what's happening in the world and how you're oriented towards it and the moods and actions that it can help to generate, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Susana. In her instance, we were really clear about what her situation was. I asked you to bring to mind a situation where you were unhappy or really angry or whatever, just stressed about something. And in that circumstance, as you look at this grid, where would you place yourself? And that's the exact question that I asked Susana. Where would you place yourself on this grid? And the reason I asked her the question and read her, I had an opinion about where she was, but it's not powerful if I tell her where she is. It's super powerful if she finds herself on it and can name it. And so I asked her, where are you on this grid? Just like I'm asking you, I hope you can find yourself. And she said, I'm here. And I asked her why, and she gave me an explanation. And I said, so you're in a place of wanting to get even? Yeah. And it was an incredibly calm conversation, even though she had been, really hyped up emotionally before. The listening helped, but then she started to see herself. And she's actually an amazing human being. And the idea of the fact that she was getting even with, owners of the company who she supported, the products that she was selling that she loved, and her fellow salespeople who she also really respected and wanted to be successful. When she saw that in herself, she was in a different place. So I'm guessing that you might be able to see yourself on this in that situation of your own. And so now let's talk about what to do. If you find yourself in a mood of resentment, well, sometimes, there are things that people say can't be changed that actually could become possibilities. But let's just assume that the facts are the facts. It's not going to change. The goal for you, if you find yourself here, or someone that you're talking to, if you want to share this with them, would be to help them find a way to move from resentment to acceptance. And that's exactly the work that I did with Susana that day, which she pretty much, at the point of realizing it and really realizing the impact of the fact that she was in this mood, she pretty much got herself to this place by herself. And many times people will just self-coach themselves through it. Otherwise, you might need to ask some questions and help them, process it a bit. And then if you're in a place of rejecting the possibilities, if you're in resignation and you're saying, forget about it, there's nothing I can do here, can you ask them some questions to help them consider the possibility that maybe you could accept that there are some things possible that you shut down? And could you get yourself to a place of at least mild enthusiasm or interest? It may not be enthusiasm like that, but can you help them move in this direction? So once you find yourself, assuming you're up here, the goal is to move down. And that's the move that you can make if you find yourself, if you can support someone to get there. Don't tell them where they should be. That won't work. But if you can support them if they recognize they're here and they don't want to be there, can you help them? The best way is by asking questions. Help them move from here to here or from here to here. So what do you do with this? Well, I'm assuming that you'll encounter some people along the way who aren't in the best place. And I would suggest you do exactly what I did, which is why I told you the story the way I told it. Step one is to listen. Ask them what's going on. And then listen, not just to placate them or to be courteous, but to actually try to understand and make sure that they understand that you understand. So is this what you're saying? Is this what happened? Am I getting it right? If not, let them correct you. Let them get to the point where they believe, they experience that you get them. And as soon as that happens, their sympathetic nervous system will start to dial down, and their fight, flight, and freeze response will also start to lessen. so that now you could maybe share something with them. Ask for permission is step 2 to share this, and break it down in your own way, the way similar to I have, but do it in your own way. And then once you've shared it, your goal is not to say, you're here. It's to say, does this connect for you? And if it does, then say, okay, step 3 would be ask themselves to find where they are on the map. And if they're in a tough place, they'll probably relate to this, and they'll probably be in one of these 2 places. And then the question is, do you want to stay there? And at that point, it becomes either, Susana pretty much took herself from here to here without me asking her to, because she realized I do not want to be here. But you can invite them to by asking them questions to help them get from here to here. And this can help a person move very quickly, or help you move yourself very quickly, as long as you take your time, which may not seem to make sense. As long as you take your time and help them get to a place of lessening their sympathetic nervous system response so that they can be open to making a change. I hope this makes sense for you, and I hope you can see how easy this can be for you to apply really quickly. This is one of the most practical things that you'll ever get from me, because it's so easy to implement once you wrap your own mind around it. So I hope this is helpful for you, and I'm really enthusiastic to hear, open to the possibilities of how you might be able to use it. So please let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.